Ending the leadership of the National Assembly, working with the presidency to effect a return to a calendar year budget cycle. History will record this as an important achievement of the 9th Assembly. Having said that, Mr. President, I would like to commend the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the timeliness in submitting this budget. Not only the timeliness in submitting the budget, but also in increasing the VAT by 50% from 5%.
Senator Albert Basi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope they will adjust my time. I am commending Mr. President for adjusting the budget, the VAT component of the budget by 50%, but in doing that, removing enterprises that have turnover of less than 25 million naira from the VAT net, and also increasing the number of items that are excluded from VAT. Having said that, Mr. President, I would like to raise a few concerns that I have over this 2020 budget. The first is the oil revenue forms a major component of the budget. There is no doubt about that. But my concern has to do with the basis of arriving at the oil revenue component of the budget. The 2.18 million barrels per day assumed, I think it is over-ambitious because it has to depend on total security in the Niger Delta region. And from past experience, it cannot be 1 more minute, Mr. Whip.
Go ahead.
So, my concern is that 2.18 assumed as a average production per day is over-ambitious. Again, the $57 per day price is also over-ambitious. When we consider that today, the cost of crude, Brent crude, is $59 per barrel. So we are over-ambitious in our estimation. And I fear that we may not meet our revenue targets. Having said that, Mr. President, I have looked at the structure of the budget, and I see that there is no balance. Why do I say that? The revenue estimate for 2020 is 8.155 trillion naira. The expenditure estimate is 10.7 trillion naira, which means that we are earning less than what we are projecting to spend. We are spending more than what we are earning. That is an imbalance. The second imbalance is the capital versus the recurrent expenditure. The capital is only 2.46 trillion, while the recurrent is 8.24 trillion. Virtually the entire earnings that we are making is going into recurrent expenditure. Again, the capital versus the total expenditure. Capital of 2.46 versus total expenditure of 10 trillion is only 23%. So this imbalance ought to be addressed. Finally, Mr. President, to me, the 2020 federal budget is only a budget of consumption. because virtually the entire earnings we are projected to make in 2020 is going to go towards recurrent expenditure. The debt that we are going to take is the little amount that we are reserving for capital expenditure. So I believe, Mr. President, that we need to address this.
Understood the role that it is expected to play. I would just add that indeed the involvement of all stakeholders in the business is very, very critical. When we talk about illegal miners, they are not angels that come from nowhere. And if you involve the various stakeholders, state governments, local governments, the communities, then I believe it will go a long way in checkmating the illegal activities in the sector. I will also say that I like your proposal to involve the private sector in packaging a fund, $600 million investment fund, and I think it is the way to go, and it is something that I support. And finally, you also propose to establish an agency, a mining regulatory agency. And I think I can speak for my chairman, and I can say that we in the National Assembly will give you all the cooperation you require to make this happen. So we look forward to receiving the bill from you so that we can work on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Subsection 5 and 6. With your permission, I read. On receipt of the bill from the President of the Senate, the rules, subsection 4, a printed copy of the bill shall as soon as possible be sent to every senator. Mr. President, we are at the stage of the second reading of this bill. I don't know for others, but I have not seen the bill. I don't know how we can debate a bill that we have not received. That's my point of order. Thank you. The motion is on the need for immediate disaster response by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to communities in Demsa, Numan, Goyuk, and Lamude local governments of Adamawa State, severely affected by flooding in October 2019. The Senate notes that the National Emergency Management Agency was established via Act Number 12, as amended by Act Number 50 of 1999, for the purpose of managing disasters in Nigeria through the formulation of policies on all activities relating to disaster management and coordination of plans and programs for efficient and effective response to disasters in Nigeria. The Senate, aware that a major disaster in form of destructive flooding occurred in October 2019 as a result of the release of excess water by the authorities of Lagbo Dam in Cameroon, further aware that NEMA performed a disaster response action by distributing relief materials to communities in Fufore, Yola South, Yola North, and Gira local governments of Adamawa State affected by the floods, and notes that this intervention by NEMA was not extended to other local governments in Adamawa State along the River Benue Valley, equally affected by the flood disaster. And the Senate concerned that although the attention of the Director General of NEMA was drawn to the need to provide relief materials to communities of the 4 local governments mentioned, which were severely affected by the October floods, nothing has been done by NEMA to date. And disturbed that NEMA will appear to be selective in its disaster response intervention, Senate accordingly resolves as follows. 1, to direct NEMA to immediately implement a response program for the flood disaster that affected various communities of Demsa, Numan, Lamurge, Guyuk, local governments of Adamawa State, as per the detailed submission already made to NEMA. And 2, direct the Senate committees on special duties, ecology and climate change, and environment to investigate the effectiveness of NEMA in their disaster response activities in 2019. I so move. Thank you.
Senator Yarobinos.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Dinos Dauda Yaro, representing Adamawa South. I rise to second the motion so aptly articulated and moved by my neighbor and brother, distinguished Senator Ifeanyi Patrick Ubah. In seconding his motion, I would like to add that Nigerians are all over the world making contributions to the economies of various countries of the world. And some countries, especially in Africa, when they have their problems, they take it out on Nigerians. We have, in these chambers, debated the xenophobic attacks in South Africa against Nigerians. And we have seen from this motion the hostile action that is taken by Ghanaians against Nigerian businessmen in Ghana. Therefore, it is important for us to investigate this matter so that other African countries can see that when our citizens are attacked or hostile policies are articulated against them, we do not just let it go. It is therefore in this regard that I second this motion. I so second. Thank you. In bringing the security issues to the front burner, Mr. President, let me start by quoting from the World Press Conference of the Khan President, which he delivered last week. He quoted Lemony Snicket as saying, "If you have ever lost a loved one, then you know exactly how it feels. If you have not, then you cannot possibly imagine it." Mr. President, when my colleague, the senator from Adamawa North, was making his contribution, he said he is doing it because he is involved, because he was a victim. And he mentioned what happened last Saturday when he represented you at the funeral service of the current chairman of Michika local government of Adamawa State. The same day that you were representing at that funeral service, Mr. President, I was also attending a funeral service of another clergy, Reverend Dennis Bagauri, who was laid to rest that same day. He was 2 weeks earlier gunned down in his house by unknown gunmen. Mr. President, this is a serious issue. I will just go straight to mention why the fight against insurgency, the fight against Boko Haram, the fight against militants is not succeeding. I'll start by re-emphasizing the overstay of the service chiefs in office. How do you relate that to the ineffectiveness of the fight against the terrorists? Simply because the service chiefs are surrounded by key officers who are too junior to them. Usually, when you take a service chief from a particular course, the key officers are usually his course mates who will look him in the eye and tell him the truth and give him good advice. But in this case, where you have a service chief on, say, course 26, and his officers, his key officers, his air officers commanding, his general officers commanding, or his flag officers commanding, are all course 30-something. There is too much gap between them. These are people who did not even meet these service chiefs in the academy. How can they really give them good advice? That is part of the problem. So we must emphasize to Mr. President the need to bring in new blood, to bring in people with new ideas. Otherwise, we will continue to see very, very inefficient fight against these terrorists. Mr. President, I would like again to say there's also a need for an all-encompassing fight against terrorists, including all the other services, the police, the immigration, the civil defense, the Office of the National Security Advisor, the SSS, the NIA, all of them should be together, fighting this thing together. There shouldn't be rivalry between the services. As has been said, what we see today is...
Please round up.
is rivalry between them and lack of prioritizing. That is why you find the Chief of Army Staff establish a university in his state, the Chief of Air Staff establish Air University in his state. Why universities? So, Mr. President, I believe there is a need to effect a change in the leadership of the services. It is disheartening that within 1 year of our inauguration, we lost 4 of our distinguished colleagues. For me, it makes me to reflect and to think, what is this life all about? Mr. President, as painful as the passing on of our colleague is, we must accept that it is a path that all mortals must pass through. Therefore, the only thing we can do is to reflect on the memory of our colleague, what she represented, how she conducted herself while she was with us. For me, Senator Rose Oko was a great teacher, because as a fresh senator, I spent the first few months in the Senate observing the conduct, the comportment of my ranking colleagues. And Rose Oko stood out as somebody that one should emulate. A lot has been said about her, but I must also add that she is one senator that is always prompt in coming to the chamber. I am also one of those that come early, but I have never been able to come into the chamber before her. So every time I did come in and see her seated, I will go to her seat, I will greet her, and she will respond warmly. So she came to me as somebody, even though from a distance. Somebody that is very kind-hearted, somebody that is very accommodating, somebody that is very humble. So, to the family, my prayer is that God will give you his peace and give all of us his peace so that we can accept this earthly separation. And may her gentle soul rest in peace. Thank you.
The effect of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act, and there is a need to extend the enforcement of local content to all other industries. We have seen in this country where foreigners come in, they establish industries, and the tendency is for them to bring content from their home countries. If we do not take steps to safeguard our industries, we are going to have problems. So it is on this note that I'm supporting this bill. Because if you look at agriculture, for example, or mining, you find that foreigners come in and they dominate that industry. They bring their own workers from their own country. We have seen this happening in other countries. And if we are not proactive and take steps to protect our industries, then we are going to allow foreigners to take control of our industry. So it is very important, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, for us to support this bill because it is necessary for us to protect our industries. I so submit. Thank you.
Senator Brango.
Very impressed. Thank you, sir. What I wanted to ask you is to close the gap between when you left CBN and now. And you have done that partially by telling us that last 11 months you have been on the board of SEC. Yes, but they still young. And secondly, in the past, there has been a lot of friction, especially between SEC and the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Sometimes the Nigerian Stock Exchange looking down on SEC, and it has to do with the historical background to the establishment of the institutions. You know, Nigerian Stock Exchange coming on board first, and then SEC coming on later, and that had sometimes created a lot of friction. What will you do as the DG of SEC to prevent friction taking place between SEC and the operators in the market? You know, I know from your answers you have addressed some of this, but if you can just focus on this. Thank you.
Together for generations, and that in the past, occasional conflicts were amicably settled through dialogue and restitution to injured parties. Concerned that in recent years, such conflicts, which are avoidable, have on many occasions degenerated into deadly communal clashes. Observes that since December 2017, most of the 9 local governments in Adamawa South Senatorial District have been under one form of deadly invasion or the other, beginning with the invasion by suspected militant herdsmen on Dong and Kodomun in Demsa local government area, and Bolki, Kodomti, Bang, and Bujum in Numan local government area, as well as other neighboring villages. These invasions involved looting, burning down of entire villages, and carrying out wanton killings of men, women, and children. The Senate recalls that because of the gruesome nature of the attacks and the extent of the killings, over 100 persons were reported to have been killed in the December 4, 2017 attacks. His Excellency, Professor Yomi Osinbanjo, Vice President of the Federal Republic, on Tuesday, December 5, 2017, visited Dong in Demsa local government, accompanied by Senator Umaru Jibrilla Bindo, Governor of Adamawa State then, The purpose of the visit was to assess firsthand the extent of the carnage visited on the people of Dongtown. The Senate recalls further that during the visit, the Vice President was reported to have said, and I quote, "The reason why we are here is to see for ourselves. The first thing, of course, is to see how we can compensate the loss and take immediate steps and make sure that NEMA immediately supplies relief materials and also restores some things destroyed by the state to the state they were before the destruction." Quotation close. Regrettably, to date, the people of Dong, Kodomti, Bolki, Bang, Bujum, and other communities attacked and destroyed then and since then have not received any support from either the state or federal government. These communities have been struggling on their own to rebuild their homes and lives. Worried that these large-scale attacks, which have abated somewhat over the last 1 year, have resurfaced again in the last 1 week with consequential loss of lives and property. Concerned that in the early hours of Tuesday, 12 May 2020, unknown gunmen launched attacks on Bolki and Gon, two village areas of Numan local government. 2 persons were killed in the attacks and the entire villages were burned down and their livestock rustled. Further concerned that a few days later, on Friday, 15th May 2020, communal clashes erupted in Tingno and Sabunlai towns of Lamu, the local government, where about 15 people are feared dead and large sections of the town burned down and properties worth millions destroyed. Disturbed that Bemun village, a fishing community in Lamu, the local government, was also attacked by unknown gunmen the following day, Saturday, 16th May 2020, and the entire village razed to the ground, although no life was lost. The Senate observes that the communities that were subject to these attacks over the last 1 week are all farming or fishing communities, and these attacks and clashes have effectively impaired their land preparation activities for the upcoming farming season, thereby posing an imminent threat to food security in the area and the state. The Senate accordingly resolved to 1. Direct NEMA to urgently provide relief materials to the communities of Bolki, Gon, Tingno, Sabunlai, and Bemun recently affected by insurgency attacks and communal clashes. 2. Direct the Northeast Development Commission, NEDC, to urgently carry out an assessment of the destruction of houses, public institutions, and places of worship by insurgents since December 2017 in Shelen, Guyuk, Lamurde, Numan, Demsa, and Mayabala local government areas of Adamawa State, with a view to providing support for the reconstruction of the destroyed structures. 3. Call on the Chief of Army Staff to direct the Brigade Commander, 23rd Armored Brigade Yola, to deploy an army formation on the Adamawa side of the border with Taraba to checkmate cross-border movement of insurgents. 4. Commend the Commissioner of Police, Adamawa State Police Command, for swiftly deploying and stationing a MOPOL unit at the Tingno crisis area and urge him to station a similar unit at Bang Bujung axis to act as a deterrent. And 5. Observe a 1-minute silence in memory of all those who lost their lives in the recent attacks and communal clashes in Bolki and Tingno respectively. I so move.
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dino Siaro, Adamawa South again. I also rise to add my voice to this bill, to the second reading of this bill, because of the importance of colleges of education in the teaching of our children. It is important to support this bill. In fact, I will go as far as say that we should make it a policy so that each senatorial zone, each senatorial district of this country
should have at least one college of education. The reason is we have said that the minimum qualification for teaching in our primary schools should be the national certificate.
Chief Whip, the chamber is a bit noisy. Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. The point I'm trying to make is that the NCA certificate is supposed to be the minimum educational qualification for teaching in our primary schools. To be able to have enough teachers, we need to have a good number of colleges of education. So this bill goes a long way in achieving that. And as I said, I will also urge that we make it a policy so that each senatorial district in this country should have at least one college of education. With this, I support the second reading of the bill. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Binos Yaro, Senator representing Adamawa South. I rise to second the motion so ably presented by my sister, the Senator representing Adamawa Central. In doing that, Mr. President, I would like to add that the attacks that have been taking place appear to be unending. A few days ago, this Senate dedicated a whole day to debate the issue of insecurity in this country. And as a result, an ad hoc committee was set up. Mr. President, it is important for, as the motion stated, drastic action to be taken to bring these attacks to an end. A few days earlier, a similar attack took place in my own constituency, in the village of Bang, in Numan local government, where 2 people were also killed. Mr. President, it is important that the issue of security be addressed frontally because it appears to be getting out of hand. With these remarks, Mr. President, I second the motion. Thank you.
I will go to the prayers. Prayer 1. Ask the Chief of Army Staff to establish a military command base in Garkida and also all major settlements bordering the Sambisa forest immediately. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2. Call on the Northeast Development Commission to immediately embark on rehabilitation of public and religious institutions destroyed and provide assistance to other individuals affected. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And prayer 3. Urge the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to urgently assess the extent of damage and provide relief materials immediately to the Garkida community affected. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Well, like Senator Binos indicated in his intervention, the Senate had discussed, debated so much on the insecurity in the country, and we set up an ad hoc committee under the leadership of the Senate leader. The committee is working very, very hard. We are trying to look for solutions to the insecurity bedeviling the country today. We are not going to rest on our oars until we are able to provide solutions to the insecurity in the country. This is the essence of our being in government. And of course, it will require that we work with House of Representatives and the Executive as well as citizens, because I believe that citizens need to be taken into confidence in the fight against insecurity. So we will not waste any time. As soon as the report is ready, I believe by next week probably the report will be ready. We are going to look at the report of the ad hoc committee and take those important and very valuable resolutions and of course engage with the executive arm of government. But I believe that we are on the same page with the executive arm of government. Everybody is worried and we are going to do whatever it takes. And I normally say if we have to invest so much money, so be it, because there is nothing more important than life, not even infrastructure. Life is more important than anything. So we need to protect the lives of the people that have sent us here, that have made us to be in government. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, Deputy Governor of Plateau State, all other guests that are here, the family. My name is Dinos Daudeyaro, Senator representing Adamawa South. I rise to join my colleagues in expressing my condolences to the family of our late colleague and the good people of Plateau State. I have listened to all the tributes that have been paid. I did not want to speak, but I'm compelled to speak because having all expressed the kind of good man that our late colleague was, it is important for us not to allow the legacy that he has left behind to be in vain. So it is incumbent on us as his colleagues to make sure that the legacy of loyalty, the legacy of peace, the legacy of unifying the people, the legacy of serving his community, we must make sure that we continue with this legacy. And for us, it is important also to prepare, as a number of people have said, for the day of our own reckoning. In doing this, let me read from Scripture. Psalm 39, verses 4 and 5 says, Lord, make me to know my end, and what is the measure of my days, that I may know how frail I am. Indeed, you have made my days as a handbreadth, and my age as nothing before you. Certainly, every man at his best state is but vapor. Mr. President, everybody must prepare for that ultimate day. Let me tell you a story of the great boxer, Muhammad Ali. He was once asked, what will he do after retiring from boxing? He said when he retires, he's going to commit himself to prepare to meet his maker. That is, to prepare for eternity. And he tried to explain what is eternity. He says, when you die, you go to either hellfire or you go to paradise. He says he's going to devote his time to preparing for eternity. And he said eternity is like if you pick a grain of sand from the Sahara Desert and drop it, and you keep picking. Eternity is when you complete picking the entire sand of Sahara Desert. So he said he is not prepared to spend eternity in hellfire. And to add to that, he said he now walks around with a box of matches in his pocket. Every time he forgets, he will take a match, light it, and put his hand on it. And when his hand is burning, he will say, hellfire is more painful than this fire. So, Mr. President, as we join in condoling the family, we pray that when our time comes, we shall be ready to meet our Maker. Thank you.
South. I rise to second the motion presented by my colleague, distinguished colleague, Comrade Senator Abba Moro, concerning herdsmen attack on his community. Mr. President, this is an all too familiar case that we have debated in these chambers a number of times. In times past, herdsmen and farmers lived side by side without problems. Any infractions, any misunderstanding are always resolved amicably. But Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, today we see every small incident resulting in serious conflict and attacks that lead to loss of lives. Recently, I saw a post in social media posted by one of our distinguished colleagues, where some of these people that are carrying out these attacks are foreigners. They are not even Nigerians. But Mr. President, because we have allowed these foreigners to come into our country and cause havoc and attack communities without our doing anything about it, this has encouraged more of them to do the same thing. Mr. President, we must attack this problem. We must stop it, and we must make sure that the police fish out the perpetrators of these attacks and bring them to justice. It is only by doing this that this can be brought to a stop. So with this, Mr. President, I second the motion, and I urge my colleagues to approve it. Thank you.
We'll go to the prayers, please. Prayer one.
Rise to lend my voice to this lead debate that is calling for the establishment or conversion of the FMC Yola to a teaching hospital attached to the university, Modibo Adama University Yola. Mr. President, I must commend my distinguished colleague for this bill. This bill brings to a full cycle the effort she has done to improve the health facilities in Adamawa State. At the beginning, she brought a motion to allow Modibo Adama University of Technology to run courses in medicine. Then she brought a bill to convert that university to a conventional university. Conversion of that university to a conventional university will allow it to run courses in medicine. Now she has brought a bill that will provide Modibo Adama University a teaching hospital which will support the course that it will run in medicine. Mr. President, this is very important because without a teaching hospital, you cannot be able to run courses in medicine successfully. So I support this bill, the second reading of this bill, and I again commend distinguished Senator Aishatu Ahiru Binani for bringing this bill. And I must also commend all my colleagues that have all spoken in support of this bill. And I urge all of us to support it. Thank you.
Is anybody against the bill?
Adamawa South. I rise to support the motion for the second reading of this bill as so articulately presented by my distinguished colleague in his lead debate. Mr. President, I have said it on this floor a number of times that there are three key sectors that the country must focus on if you want to diversify our economy and get more revenue for the country and save foreign exchange. These three sectors are the ICT, solid minerals, and agriculture. Mr. President, as the lead debater so clearly stated, it is important for us to establish institutions that will provide manpower, that will drive development in these sectors. And again, as he cited the contribution of our colleague, Senator Smart Adeyemi, in his presentation in a previous session of this Senate, we should, as a policy, drive for the establishment of ICT schools in each of the zones of the country. And I believe that the proposal for the establishment of this school in Ogoja is the one that is being recommended for the South-South. So, Mr. President, from this point, we know that we are going to the right direction. So, for this reason, I totally support the second reading of this bill, and I urge my colleagues to do so. Thank you.
Is anybody against the bill? Distinguished, I think this is something you can address some of the institutions you mentioned in Central and North. It's something you can internally deal with, and you can bring bills to establish institutions, federal institutions that you know have not been established in the state. I know that Senator, the sponsor of this bill, Senator Aisha does Adamawa North. And this Federal Medical Center is, if the bill becomes a law, will be to establish a Federal Medical Center in Adamawa North. So it's an effort that you people from Adamawa, our distinguished colleagues here, should all put together so that you can also have something in the southern zone. You can round up.
All the grounds. But because of the importance of this bill, it is worth repeating some of the points that have been made. This bill, when passed into law, will promote and support the development of the solid mineral sector in this country, which will lead to the diversification of the economy, which will in turn lead to less dependence on the petroleum sector as we do now. Diversification of the economy will also create jobs. Mr. President, there is no part of this country, as has been said, that does not have one solid mineral or the other in it. So, Mr. President, we need a coordinating body that will drive the development of this sector. That is the basic reason for this bill. In addition to that, Mr. President, we also need trained manpower, and that is why on this floor we have presented bills for the establishment of schools of mines and geological studies. Mr. President, this is important because this sector, as has been said, is key to the diversification of this economy and the creation of jobs. So for this reason, I support this bill and I urge all my colleagues to do so. Thank you, sir.
Prayers. But before then, let me also make a remark here. that as leaders, we have the responsibility to ensure that our communities live in peace, no matter how heterogeneous such communities would be. We should continue to preach, also act in a way and manner that we encourage people to live in peace. It's when the country is in peace, or when our communities are in peace, that we can have the satisfaction that we are leading well. I believe that what happened in Gombe South and Adamawa South was such an unfortunate incident that at this point requires the full support of leaders from those areas to come together and get the communities to understand that it's only when you have peace that you can even go to farm. In many parts of this country, we know how difficult it is these days to even go to farm. So we shouldn't allow any community where we hold sway to go in a south direction by manner of speaking. So I believe that this is a matter that we can put to rest completely when we put the right efforts at the right time. Thank you. We have some prayers. I think only 4 prayers, and we have to do that in 1 minute. The Senate accordingly resolves to direct NEMA to urgently provide relief materials to Yunwar, Jesu, Heme communities in Balanga local government, Gombe State, and Walu, Falu, Jiu, and Chikila communities in Guyuk local government area, Adamawa State, recently affected by communal clashes. Those who have this prayer say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the traditional rulers of Waja Chiefdom in Gombe State and Lungu Chiefdom in Adamawa State to impress on their subjects the need to maintain the peace and avoid resort to self-help in settling disputes. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. 3, send a delegation to the 2 communities in Balanga local government, Gombe State, and Guyuk local government, Adamawa State, to commiserate with and preach peaceful coexistence to the people. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Amendment. We rush it. Leader.
To be just in line with what our distinguished leader, former Governor Danjuma Boja said, urge the Governor of Adamawa State to pay a visit to the affected communities in Adamawa State, with a view to impressing on the communities to stay with each other in peace.
Leader, can we say the political leaders rather than Governor of Adamawa State? Yeah, let's not be too exact like that. Yeah, when we say political leaders, that includes all these people rather than saying Governor of Adamawa State. So we just leave it like that. The political leaders, right? Like suggested by... So that's the amendment. Or you still want the governor? Okay. Okay. Those in favor of prayer, secondment, the acting minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gashambasi Crossbar South, I so second.
Those in favor of prayer 3 as amended, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. And the last prayer, no, that's the last prayer. Those in favor of prayer 4 as amended, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, I think we just have to adjourn.
Mr. President, we have come
Mr. President, I didn't realize it was me. I'm Bino Siaro.
Have you changed your name?
I will not, Mr. President. I'm still Bino Siaro, Adama South. Mr. President, I rise to support the second reading of this bill and also commend my sister, distinguished Senator Aishatu Ahmed Ayuri Binani, for fast-tracking this bill. Mr. President, as has been canvassed in the lead debate, because the FMC has been converted or a bill has been passed in this Hall of Chambers to convert it to an FMC, to a teaching hospital attached to the university, there is a need for us in Adamawa to have another federal medical center. For this reason, Mr. President, this bill is very timely, it is apt, and it should be supported. Mr. President, in supporting this bill, because we have real out statistics, it is important for me to also say that Adamawa State is composed of 3 senatorial districts: Adamawa North, Adamawa Central, Adamawa South, and virtually all the institutions, federal and state, in Adamawa State are located either in Adamawa Central or Adamawa North. For example, the Federal University, Modibo Adama University, is in Yola. The State University is in Mubi. The State Polytechnic is in Yola. The Federal Polytechnic is in Mubi. The State College of Education is in Hong, which is central. The Federal College of Education is in Yola. There are other institutions, School of Nursing and Midwifery in Yola, College for Legal Studies in Yola. There is no institution of North in Adamawa South, which actually is
Distinguished, I think this is something you can address. Some of the institutions you mentioned in Central and North is something you can internally deal with, and also you can bring bills to establish institutions, federal institutions that you know have not been established in the state. I know that Senator, the sponsor of this bill, Senator Aishatu
Goje, representing Gombe Central and Gombe State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand to support this motion with a very heavy heart, because the 2 communities, who are on the motion referred to in Gombe, for example, to the best of my knowledge, there have never been any communal conflict between these 2 communities. Because the 2 communities it refers to, in each of these communities, you can hardly get a person that's purely Lungoda or Waja. Each family is related to one another, either through marriage, paternal or maternal. And they are believing in peace. But the story is, for some years, because of movements of people, they need to farm, some communities on the other side of the border, the Adamawa border, which also had the same tribes, Waja and Lungoda. For some reason best known to them there in Adamawa, they've been fighting themselves. They've been fighting over the years. Unfortunately, for the first time, this fight was exported into Gombe. But I want to say, in addition to whatever he said, the speaker said, the governor of Gombe State took very prompt action. He personally went there that very day. He went there physically with delegation, with the commissioner of police, with the military, and they were able to settle the matter. Fortunately, the district head of that village was my permanent secretary, and he later became the SSG of Gombe State, very enlightened person, and the matter was settled amicably. And we pleaded with the people on the other side, Adamawa side, not to export. Because we cannot go beyond, we cannot go into Adamawa. I'm happy that he said he's appealing to the chief of Lunguda and Adamawa to appeal to his people. But the chief of Waja in Gombe State had done that already. The traditional rulers, religious leaders, the governor, everybody has sat down. They have actually resolved this matter. And hopefully, God will, inshallah, we hope this will never happen again. But we want to appeal to the senator whose district includes that part of Adamawa State, to appeal to the same people, to the governor of Adamawa State. He should do the same thing. He has never visited the place, but the day this thing happened, our governor was there, but let the governor of Adamawa State also mobilize the traditional rulers there, the religious leaders there, the political leaders, including the senator himself and others, to go and sit down with these people. Like I told you, these people are the same people. Most of them are intermarried. And a lot of them speak both languages. They are the same people. So they should be prevailed upon to see the need for peaceful coexistence. And Mr. President, I also want to support the need for intervention by the federal government, because a lot of damage has been done. So many houses have been raised, including the house of the district head I refer to, the former SSG. His house was raised down completely 100%. And that village also, the immediate Chief Justice of Gombe State for the last 20 years is over from that village. His house also raised. So many houses were raised. And people are homeless now. So I want to support the prayer, particularly when
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't realize it was me. I'm Dino Siaro.
Have you changed your name?
I will not, Mr. President. I'm still Dino Siaro, Adamawa South. Mr. President, I rise to support the second reading of this bill and also commend my sister, distinguished Senator Aishatu Ahmed Ayuri Binani, for fast-tracking this bill. Mr. President, as has been canvassed in the lead debate, because the FMC has been converted, or a bill has been passed in this hollow chambers to convert it to an FMC, to a teaching hospital attached to the university, there is a need for us in Adamawa to have another federal medical center. For this reason, Mr. President, this bill is very timely, it is apt, and it should be supported. Mr. President, in supporting this bill, because we have reeled out statistics, it is important for me to also say that Adamawa State is composed of 3 senatorial districts: Adamawa North, Adamawa Central, Adamawa South, and virtually all the institutions, federal and state, in Adamawa State are located either in Adamawa Central or Adamawa North. For example, the Federal University, Modibo Adamawa University, is in Yola. The State University is in Mubi. The State Polytechnic is in Yola. The Federal Polytechnic is in Mubi. The State College of Education is in Hong, which is central. The Federal College of Education is in Yola. There are other institutions, School of Nursing and Midwifery in Yola, College for Legal Studies in Yola. There is no institution of note in Adamawa South, which actually is
distinguished. I think this is something you can address. Some of the institutions you mentioned in Central and North is something you can internally deal with, and or you can bring bills to establish institutions, federal institutions that you know have not been established in the state. I know that Senator, the sponsor of this bill, Senator Aisha, does not represent Adamawa North. And this Federal Medical Center is, if the bill becomes a law, will be to establish a Federal Medical Center in Adamawa North. So it's an effort that you people from Adamawa, our distinguished colleagues here, should all put together so that you can also have something in the southern zone. You can round up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I take the guidance and I'm well guided. So, in summary, I'm in support of this bill. Thank you. Order 42, with your kind permission, I would like to read. Order 42, the matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. If the claim is allowed by the President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of all senators, the matter shall stand over to the next legislative day. Mr. President, he has to listen.
Go ahead, please.
The matter I'm seeking approval to bring tomorrow by way of motion has partially been presented by my distinguished colleague and brother, Senator B.K. Amos. It has to do with the conflict.
Senator Solomon Adiola, please stop disturbing Senator Balana Ibn Allah.
So, Mr. President, as I'm saying, the matter I want to bring tomorrow by way of a motion has been partially presented by my distinguished colleague and brother, distinguished Senator B.K. Amos, and that is the matter of the conflict between the Waja and the Lunguda communities. As a matter of fact, this conflict...
No. You are not moving the motion. No. You are not moving the motion. You have come under 42.
President, distinguished colleagues, let me start by expressing my appreciation for allowing me, under Order 42 yesterday, to bring this motion today. The motion is for an urgent call for a stop to the communal clashes between the Waja and Lunguda communities in Gombe South and Adamawa South senatorial districts, and the need for NEMA to provide relief materials to the displaced persons. The Senate knows that the various ethnic communities in Gombe South and Adamawa South have lived in peace with one another for centuries and share common culture. Concerned that in recent years, conflicts have broken out between the neighboring communities over simple disputes, especially when preparations for farming become imminent, leading to on several occasions, loss of lives and destruction of properties and displacement of communities. The Senate observes that communal clashes between the Waja and Lunguda communities who live on both sides of the Gombe states and Adama state borders and have their kith and kin on either side of the border, specifically in Balanga local government area of Gombe state and Guyuk local government area of Adama state. The Senate recalls that at about this time last year, a serious conflict broke out between the Waja and Lunguda communities in Lafia, Boshkiri towns and environs in Adama state, resulting in avoidable loss of lives and displacement of entire communities who were forced into emergency IDP camps. The Senate concerned that in the night of Monday, 12 April 2021, through the early hours of Tuesday 13th, another conflagration erupted in Nyuar and Jesu districts of Balanga local government in Gombe state, where the entire Nyuar district, Nyuar town was razed to the ground and Jesu village was partially burned down and many lives were lost, both communities being under the Waja chiefdom of Gombe state. The Senate appreciates the spirited efforts made by community and political leaders to douse the tension and restore peace in the aftermath of the conflict, and notes with concern, however, that again in the late hours of 14th April and into the early hours of 15th April, crisis once again erupted, this time on the Adama side of the border, and the following villages were attacked, houses burnt down, and lives were lost: Walu village, Falu village, Jiu village, Chikila village, and all these villages are under the Lunguda chiefdom of Adama state. The Senate worried above all that lives were lost, houses were burnt down, and people rendered homeless and displaced on both the Gombe and Adama side of the border, and aware that the primary role of government is the protection of lives and property of all its citizens, accordingly resolves as follows. 1. Direct NEMA to urgently provide relief materials to Nyuar, Jesu, Heme communities in Balanga local government of Gombe state, and Walu, Falu, Jiu, and Chikila communities in Gui local government area of Adama state that were recently affected by communal clashes. 2. Urge the traditional rulers of Waja chiefdom in Gombe state and Lunguda chiefdom in Adama state to impress on their subjects the need to maintain the peace and avoid resort to self-help in settling disputes. 3. Send a delegation to the two communities in Balanga local government area, Gombe state, and Guyuk local government area, Adama state, to commiserate with and preach peaceful coexistence to the people. And 4. Observe a 1-minute silence in memory of all those who recently lost their lives in all these villages. I so move.
Senator Ahmed Anjuma Goje.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm coming under Order 42. With your kind permission, I would like to read. Order 42. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. If the claim is allowed by the President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of all senators, the matter shall stand over to the next legislative day. Mr. President, he has to listen.
Go ahead, please.
The matter I'm seeking approval to bring tomorrow by way of motion has partially been presented by my distinguished colleague and brother, Senator B.K. Amos. It has to do with the conflict
Senator Solomon Adiola, please stop disturbing Senator Bolana Ibn Allah.
So, Mr. President, as I'm saying, the matter I want to bring tomorrow by way of a motion has been partially presented by my distinguished colleague and brother, distinguished Senator D.K. Amos, and that is the matter of the conflict between the Waja and the Lunguda communities. As a matter of fact, this conflict...
No, you are not moving the motion. No. You are not moving the motion. You have come under 42. No, it's okay. I think we have had enough. Don't go into the details. Then you can take it tomorrow. But I have to put the question first. Distinguished colleagues.
Again, I want to thank you for this opportunity to interact with you and also to comment on the contribution of my colleague, distinguished Senator Danjuma Goje, to my motion. You know, in contributing, he alluded to the fact that they don't have a problem on the Gombe side, because one of my prayers is that the community leaders, the chiefs of the two chiefdoms should call on their subjects not to take laws into their hands, not to engage in settling personal scores, you know. And one of the prayers also requested for the Senate to send a delegation to the two communities in Balanga local government area of Gombe State and Guyuk local government Adama State to commiserate with the people over their loss of lives and properties, and also to preach peace. But Senator Danjuma Goje suggested that the problem is on the side of Adama State, and that his own governor has gone to settle the problem. They don't have the problem on their side, but and that the Senate should ask the governor of Adama State, His Excellency Amadou Umaru Fintiri, to also go and settle the problem on the side of Adama State. You know, unfortunately, the workings of the Senate, I had already presented my motion, and I did not have an opportunity to comment on his comments. You know, because in the Senate you don't engage in to and fro. You know, this one says something and then you start attacking him or contradicting him. So I raised my hand. I wanted to explain, because the truth of the matter is that the governor of Adamawa State has also gone to Guyuk over the matter. He went to Guyuk with the Commissioner of Police, with very senior officers. In fact, you know, I would say that our governor was more proactive, because the problem started on the Gombe side. It did not start on the Adamawa side. And immediately it started on Gombe side. Our governor went to Guyuk because he knew that the possibility is there for the thing to spill over to the other, because in truth, the communities are Waja and Lunguda. You have Lunguda settlements, Lunguda towns in Balanga local government. They are Lunguda communities, you know. And then on the Adamawa side, you have Waja. So often you find that crisis erupts between them, whether it is on the side of Gombe or on the side of Adamawa. They have misunderstanding between the Waja and the Lunguda. It is a long-standing problem. Everybody knows. You know, so to come to the Senate and suggest that the problem is in Adamawa, Senator Danjuma Goje was not being fair to me, who presented the motion, or to my governor, because he has not been monitoring what is happening in Adamawa State. So how would he know whether the governor has gone there. So if we make a call, a prayer, that go and visit both communities and preach peace to them, why should you say that we don't have a problem on my side, go to the other side? You know, so it was totally out of order in my view. And the Senate President, to his credit, tried to correct him and say, okay, that is when I don't know whether it was the leader, you know, tried to go and say, don't be referring to governor. You know, just say the political leaders. You know, if you go to Balanga and if you send a delegation and the delegation goes to Gombe State, I expect they will visit the governor. If they go to governor and governor says, we have settled the problem, you have done your own now. You go to Adama, if the Adama governor says, we have settled the problem, fine. If they say, we have not been able to settle it, we will do as you have advised, fine, nothing bad has happened. But if you now say, we don't have a problem on our side, it is only on Adama's side, you know, it's not been fair to us. So that is what I say about it.
So this Wajir and Nukuda, are they of different ethnic groups?
Yes, they are two different ethnic groups.
Okay.
You know, but they have been neighbors for long. They are communities that have been living together and doing things together for long. You know, but you know, even Senator Goje said, because of the change in climate, you know, and movement of people here and there, conflicts have started to come up. You know, when people move from their traditional place and go to another place, and then if it is concerning farming, and then the land is not enough for all of them, you find some people who say, this farmland is our own. You are just coming. Maybe people come and settle, and then they say, okay, they want to farm. They say, okay, you can farm here. And then after 5 years, they say, this place now belongs to me. You know, that is the problem that we have. So there are two separate communities, and they are on both sides of the border. You have Waja in Adamawa State. You have Waja in Gombe State. They are predominantly in Gombe State. You have Lunguda in Adamawa State. You have Lunguda in Gombe State. They are predominantly in Adamawa State. Yes, that is it. So anytime there is, you know, I mentioned in my motion that last year, around this time last year, we had that same kind of conflict, which took place on the Adamawa side of the border. You know, sometimes when these things happen, you sit back. You know, some people will wait and say, okay, we'll revenge. You know, they may wait another year or so, and then they will now take action. So, to me, this is what has happened. Because of what happened last year, maybe they say, okay, we'll wait for them. But the bottom line is, people should learn to live with one another, yes, and live in peace. And if somebody offends you, you don't rise up and say you are going to take laws into your hand, you are going to attack him. You know, the many lives, I purposely didn't put the number of deaths here, because it is not something that you can say with precision. I have been given figures, and to his credit, yesterday, Senator Bulus Kelawans Amos of Gombe South did a personal explanation on this same matter. You know, and this motion I submitted is with his full concurrence. Before I sent it to him. He read it and he said it is okay. It's just unfortunate he's not in chambers today. He's the one that would have even seconded my motion. But Senator Danjuma Goje has, to me, I think maybe he has some other reason because immediately I got the approval yesterday. He rushed to the Senate President. I don't know what took him to the Senate President yesterday. I don't know what he told him. You know, but it is not right. We are all senators. We are all representatives of our people. You know, we are all being elected. You know, so we represent our people and we try to protect them. We try to project their interests, and that is what I was doing. You know, nobody should come and belittle me or suggest that I am the one that have problem, or my constituency is the one that has problem. You know, we all have problem. We see the killings that are going all over the place. You know, so it doesn't help anybody if we pretend that we don't want to listen to the truth, we don't want to hear the truth, and we do like the ostrich and put our head in the sand and say, because I can't see him, he can't see me. You know, so that's the attitude that we have in this country.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.